We are talking to Dave from Oddgames. He's a South Australian independent games developer. And how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you very much.
First, tell us about your company, Oddgames, and how long you've been in business and how many of you there are.
Yep, so there are six of us. We have three co-founders and three staff, and we've been in business for the last 2 years. We've made one title, working on another, and yeah, that's pretty much who we are.
Your first release was Monster Truck Destruction. It's sold over 2.6 million downloads since it launched, like in December.
Yeah, it had downloads, not all sales. So, yeah, 2.6 downloads.
Giving away some freebies.
So otherwise, I mean, behind me there might be a Ferrari if that was the case, but no.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Does a figure that big mean you've made it in the app world and now you are loaded beyond your dreams?
No, it doesn't mean you're loaded beyond your dreams, but I reckon it does think you've made it. It's allowed us to get a couple of guys on, so
yeah,
expanded.
You've ticked that box to say it's a sense of achievement and you've achieved.
Yeah,
you're part of what you sent out for.
You are now a legit
game developer.
Yeah, that's it. We're a thing, so it's good to be things. So I'm pretty happy.
So tell us about Monster Truck Destruction. How would you pitch that to someone who hasn't played it before?
Okay, so if you want to play a video game on the iPhone that's not really meant to be on the iPhone, it's supposed to be on a console, and it's about racing. So that's what it is. You smash into things, you do donuts, and you look at all the pretty graphics. So
I was watching some reviews on YouTube today in preparation for this, and yeah, it's a very pretty game, especially for iOS.
Yeah, pretty happy with it. We had a good artist, Terry, my brother. But yeah, it's there was a couple of things we did differently, like with the damage system. So when you smash into things, the damage system is pretty unique on the iPhone. It still kind of is, because not many people are doing it. So that makes it look a little nicer.
Yeah, how does it compare to other Monster Truck games on iOS devices?
Oh, I reckon it's the most downloaded Monster Truck game.
Yep.
In the world. Like all platforms, I reckon I could say that.
You can write that on the box.
Yeah, I reckon. Put it on the box. Most downloaded Monster Truck game. It's like most downloaded Monster Truck game with wheels in it, and yeah, pretty small award there. But in comparison to like Xbox games, we actually have better physics in our game than the Xbox Monster Truck games, which is kind of weird, but kind of nice to have. Even though they're not that great in terms of like what they could be, but they're still better than what everyone else is doing.
So what's giving you that better level of physics?
Probably the 6 months we spent trying to figure out how to bloody well do it.
Was it a massive learning curve for you guys? Was this the first kind of full-fledged game that you guys had created and had to learn the coding from the ground up? How did that go?
Yeah, I rewrote it probably 3 times.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, I learn a lot because I come from an application background, like making databases, where the user interaction is, do you want to buy this product? Yes, I do. And that's it. Whereas now it's like, do you want to turn left? Do you want to turn right? Do you want to jump? Do you want to smash into something? It's like all these things happening at once, and then you've got to handle them all. That was a huge different shift, I guess, in my coding style.
Yeah, and now Monster Truck Destruction, imminent release on Android as well, so people can play it on there as well.
Yes, it's been imminent for a while, so fans tell us every day. So.
When can they grab that?
Imminently.
Imminently. Yeah, no, look, every day I work on it and I find 20 bugs. I fix 20 bugs and I find 15 more. So we're not sure. We're hoping in the next couple of weeks. So.
Mate, have you tried just not writing bugs in your code from the beginning?
Do try that. Doesn't work.
Damn.
So clearly there's a big difference between coding for your iPhone and then coding for your Android.
No, there's not. What happened was we built the game to support multiple screens, but the iPhone have very specific screens. So they have like the iPhone 4, and then the iPad. So it's like, hey, sweet, 3 screens, easy. And then the Android came along, 12 screens. So we built all those.
It's interesting. It's interesting you should mention that because also with Android, with Apple iOS, I think there's about 90% like currents, like they're on the current version of iOS, something like that. Whereas Android, you've got 3, 4, 5 different versions of Android to deal with. Has that been a problem? Or do you just go, nah, you have to have the latest or you can get fucked?
Yeah. Well, luckily with Unity, you've got an option. You've got an option to say, look, I just want to support 2.3 and up.
Yeah.
And pretty much everything just works.
Okay.
So all the hard is done
That's
for
good.
us.
So tell us about Unity. This is what you guys have been creating your apps in
Yep.
from the start?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, it's probably the only game engine you can really look at if you want to make some serious money, simply because it allows someone like me to code something in 6 months, and then within 8 months, you could probably release it on 5, 6 different stores.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get 5 or 6 different revenue streams. So, except, obviously you need to know what you're doing, and MTD, that didn't happen because we didn't know what we were doing. So we're actually making up for it now because we've got to go back through and change a lot of stuff that we should have made differently. But yeah, it's possible to do.
You found success getting funds via Interactive Games Grant, which is a South Australian Screen Australia's initiative. Sorry, not South Australian. What does that mean for a small developing group like yourselves? Does it help a shitload?
Yeah, shitload, perfect word. Look, we already had an artist on board, and we're looking at getting another programmer. But those were short-term contracts, 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
It just means we keep those guys on for as long as we've got the grant, which is 3 years. So
Wow.
yeah, it's good.
That's a massive help.
Oh yeah, very happy.
So now you guys can just focus on creating the games. It's now your full-time job now. It's not just a after-hours effort that you're going.
Well, we actually took the plunge a year ago.
Yeah.
We both just quit jobs, bugger it, let's just do it. And then it was still hard because I'm still eating spaghetti, but it definitely means now that we can grow faster.
Yeah.
Because we had like a 5-year plan, and now we've cut it down to a 2-year plan.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So.
You're working currently on a racing title.
Yes.
It's called Shack Run, and it features Shaquille O'Neal. First of all, without me just screaming expletives and what the fucks, how do you go about creating a racing game without just shoehorning in an entity like Shaquille O'Neal? How does that work?
Okay. Firstly, you got to take a look at Shaquille O'Neal's background with cars. He loves them.
Right.
He's been on West Coast Boxings a couple of times. He owns a shitload of them.
Yeah.
So realistically, it kind of has a fit there.
Just does he also have an affinity with Kung Fu as well? 'Cause
I was just thinking, because Shaq Games haven't got a good record.
no.
They've not done well.
And that's a challenge we're going to tackle.
Yeah.
We're going to, definitely going to change that. Because this game, firstly, is a car racing game, and secondly, it's a Shaquille O'Neal game. So it's Shaquille O'Neal for us is a way to add a little bit of story, because like Oddgames has always had problems with story. We don't really have an idea to go, what do we base the Monster Truck game on? Oh, let's just put Monster Trucks in an arena and just let that.
Have some trucks around.
Yeah. Whereas this game, although the story's not going to be a great deal amount, we've at least got something that people can recognise and go, yeah, I know Shaq. Oh, cool, Shaq's hosting a racing tournament. Sweet.
Yeah.
Here's an array of characters. Let's go and I want to beat Shaq. That's my goal.
So is he like the Shang Tsung of the racing world? Is that what's happening?
Pretty much, yeah.
I really would have thought he's the Shang Tsung of basketball, but there you go.
That's it.
Clearly, you are wrong, Brad.
I must be.
Any basketball bonus games?
No basketball related stuff, except for maybe his uniform. I think. I'm not sure. I don't think that's locked in stone. But I think the biggest thing, if you do, I said the same thing when I started. But if you look at Shaq and the way he runs his life, he's very, I don't know. It's not all about. It's not about basketball. 90% of his life is about different things and different aspects and philosophies on life. So I guess guess you have some faith in that and try to portray that in a game.
The basketball is the spotlight piece that everybody sees.
Yeah,
so.
That's right. And I don't know what kind of basketball references we would do, but I got to put something in there. If you guys have some ideas, let us know.
Power-ups.
Speaking of power-ups, is it a straight racing game, like your Monster Truck was straight Monster Truck Destruction?
Yep.
Or is it a kart-like game?
Yeah. Okay. So the physics are kart-like.
Yep.
So it's very, very fast. It's like Daytona on steroids.
Yep.
So basically, it's going to be mostly drifting and mostly power sliding. There are some power-ups in the scope which we haven't really bedded down. We're not sure if they'll actually make it into the first release of the game or if at all. But my intention for the game is to have mostly racing with some very, very unique, game-changing power-ups where you use them maybe once every 2 or 3 laps, but only in situations where you need to. Otherwise, you're going to lose the race, and that's the intention of the game.
How do you get Shaquille O'Neal on board with a game like that? Does someone come to you and say, "Hey, mate"?
I was going to ask that. What hoops did you have to jump through and tape did you have to
hoops!
To do
Hoops!
yeah.
Yeah. Look, Shaquille O'Neal. He's involved with a group called One Spear, which is our publisher. They approached us and a few other companies, and we all come together. Actually, they approached us through Unity. They went to Unity and said, "Who's doing racing games?" Well, this is what I believe they did. Who's doing racing games? Who do we speak to? Unity, at that point, had been talking to us recently, so they obviously put our name forward with 5 or 6 other people. And we all pitched for it. And after a month or two, One Spear chose us to go ahead with it. So yeah, it was just a normal business pitch process. Somebody wanted something, they had something of value to give, and we'll just pitch for it.
It's just like every other industry. You put in a tender and pretty much they pick who they want and away you go. Yeah.
I do think there were a few companies that weren't able to actually commit to it because they were doing their own projects. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely a hard thing to do to convince them that we were the right team.
So do they throw any funding or anything at you, or is it just you can use Shaq and away you go? This is what we want. Here's the
I can't really discuss that stuff, but I can tell you.
No, that's cool.
Oddgames does is we like to partner with people when they have value. Now, without funding, Shaquille O'Neal has value in marketing power and just recognition.
Yep.
So, to be honest with you, that's enough for us.
And they wouldn't just let a game be created with Shaquille O'Neal's face and name on it without promoting that off the back end of their...
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the One Spear are actually releasing a few games, so they've already released one. They advertised that on TNT during the basketball season last year. So they're definitely committed to putting their name out there. I think that got into top 50 on the App Store or something once they mentioned it on TV. So.
And how far into the development are you guys currently on that one?
Yeah, look, I think there's about 4 months left, I think. I'll have a look at the schedule, roughly. Pretty much all the levels are finishing up over the next month and a half, and there's still a bit of code to do, but yeah, we're wrapping it up as quickly as we can, so about 4 months, I think.
Nice.
What I was wondering actually was how you found the Apple going about getting your app sort of greenlit with Apple there, because I've heard different stories. Some say it's easy as, others are a bit more having a bit of a hard of a time.
Yeah, do you mean from the technical aspect or from a ratings aspect?
From the QC aspect,
little of both.
Yeah. Well, from a ratings aspect, you look at our game. There's no blood, there's no guts, there's no derogatory stuff in it at all. So that was no problem. There was nothing there. But with the technical aspect, there's a lot of things you've got to do, especially when you've got in-app purchases. Make sure that they come through and people are able to, restore their purchases. And then there's some really big security issues where if you access certain parts of the phone, you're not allowed to. But to be honest with you, we had a great, tester at Chilingo, who was our publisher for the iOS version. and he was great. So he would find like 30, 40 bugs and then identify them as a problem. So we had a good time getting past Apple. I think on our third go, I think every time it was like little tiny things that we had to fix. So
that's right. Yeah,
that's good.
Have a good tester. That's the plan.
What made you start with a monster truck?
It's Terry's fault. He loves monster trucks, and he used to play Monster Truck Madness all the time. So he's like, David, let's make a video game. And I said, no, go away.
I remember Monster Truck Madness. That was great.
Yeah. So he said, let's make a game. I didn't really care at that stage because I didn't really think that we could do it. Then eventually he kind of just beat me down and said, we're making a Monster Truck game. So we started making it. It just kept evolving from a racing Monster Truck game to what it is now. So I think there was a point in time where we said, like, we're making a Monster Truck game. Let's make it like the real sport because there's nothing really out there at the moment. And that's kind of when we really took off and started, being serious with it.
How important is it to pick something that you're passionate about as kind of your focus? Like Terry, your brother, he was into the monster trucks, so I imagine that drove a lot of the project forward.
To be honest with you, when it comes to games, as a programmer, you kind of break it down in its parts, and you look at that as individual challenges, and you go, "Yeah, that's exciting. I like that." You probably do need a little bit of passion at the start of the project, but I guarantee every project you have, by the end of it, you're sick of it. So you probably don't need to have a topic 100%. You just need to have that end goal that you're going to get a launch, going to make some money, and that's what drives you. It's not actually the topic that you're working on.
So I'm gonna be cheeky here, and I know your brother Terry's there.
Yeah.
What is Terry's answer to the same question? Being the fact that coming from a programmer, that's your view, but Terry, what's your view coming from a graphics?
I think I think the first game you make, you have to be passionate about because you've got to realise it's coming from a sort of a hobby, and you're not going to get really any funding or anything. So being the first thing you're working at, you need a lot of motivation. And I think the next game with Shaquille O'Neal, it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it is focused on racing. So having the money and a team now backed in the second title. And everyone working on it is enough motivation, I think, to bring the game through. But the initial title, you have to be. I think you have to be pretty passionate. It's very important.
How is it walking that fine line now? You say the new title that you're doing, and maybe ones you do in the future that you might not be as passionate about, but it doesn't matter because it's a payday. How fine a line is it between it just being another regular job again? Do you have?
It's not. For instance, for Shack Run, we've been able to develop systems now which are exciting to a programmer. We've got like automated UI systems. We've got new physics systems, and it's just everything is upgraded.
Yeah.
And that stuff is really fun to work on for me. So
from a streamlining. Like David said, all the tool sets are coming straight out of Photoshop, straight into our engine, and making those work seamlessly without having to do all the bugs. Mountains of bugs.
To explain properly, is I'm a bit of a weird programmer. I prefer working on stuff that improves workflow as opposed to actually working on the fun core gameplay.
Yeah.
So for actually the coder we just hired, I've given him all the fun tasks of AI and game modes and stuff, and I'm actually working on
making it clean
and garage and stuff, and that's the stuff I enjoy. So,
what advice have you guys got for anyone out there that wants to break into the industry like you guys have done?
Yeah. Okay, definitely you have to start making some small games, but realistically, it's not about necessarily doing it yourself. My advice would be, because I came from a programming background, get an artist and get someone that's committed as you are, so that you can both motivate each other and get something done. If you're just working alone, there are lots of people can do it, but I'm sure there's more people that can't. Get a partner to work with would be probably the best thing to do.
The second set of eyes is always good to keep you focused and motivated, I guess.
Oh yeah.
All right. What's the best app that's currently out there that's not your own?
The best app that I play,
Minecraft.
No. The only one that I played over and over and over and loved it was Earn to Die, which is probably the worst. I don't know, the worst thing you can play because it's the same thing over and over and over. But you get new cars and a new something, and it's the exact same gameplay. It's just different graphics.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna go a little bit broader and just say like, I think a lot of the old nostalgia games that are, the AAA companies are bringing to the iPhone are fun to play if they're done right.
Well, thanks for that, Dave and Terry from Oddgames, for having a chat with us. We look forward to Shack Run.
Awesome.
It sounds like Temple Run, but with Shaquille O'Neal, but it's not. It's not, people.
Yeah. Maybe we should advertise it like that. It's not Temple Run.
It's like Temple Run, but not.
Yeah.
And you can go get their first game, Monster Truck Destruction, in the iOS store now and coming to Android like imminently. As soon as they get rid of the bugs.
That's not a can, that's a go get it.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Join our Facebook page.
Thank you guys.
Monster Truck Destruction Game Facebook page, and then you can get the launch when it happens.
Who doesn't want to drive around in monster trucks and crush things? Get out there and buy it, people.
Alright, cool.
Thanks, guys.
Guys, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Cheers,
Bye.
fellas.